small 5-minute video of what happens. We are trying to actually show you through the video that while many of us are sort of, thinking about our children winning a competition or getting that extra marks or setting up a business, there are people who are just hoping that their children would live another day. And this is what we want to emphasize by a small video today presented by ICH. Can I please have the video?
Every year, thousands of children and adults in India are diagnosed with kidney diseases that doctors call rare. But for families living through them, nothing feels rare. It is their everyday life.
When my child was diagnosed, I don't know why it happened or if it would happen again. I just wanted to know, will my child survive?
For families with rare kidney disorders, the same questions echo across generations. Can genetics change the care or prognosis? Will my transplant be successful? Will it pass on to the next generation?
In children, identifying the underlying genetic cause as early as possible is very important. You can maybe even start some specific treatment. You can have some interventions and you may not even require dialysis transplant, or even if it's required, this can be delayed.
Pediatric dialysis is quite different from adult dialysis and needs specific expertise, which we have at our pediatric dialysis unit at Institute of Child Health, and we can give a successful dialysis to small children and give them a new life.
Knowing the genetic disease actually helps, because that helps us predict whether the disease is actually going to come back in the transplanted kidney, and accordingly we can adjust our treatment to prevent the recurrence.
Even after transplant, the child has to be followed properly and managed appropriately.
Today, genetic testing isn't just about finding a name for a disease. It's about finding a direction for care. Through next generation sequencing, that's NGS, and exome or genome analysis, doctors can pinpoint the exact gene causing kidney damage.
Once we know the gene, we know if it is something, we can design the care pathway. We can understand if the transplant occurs, will it recur? We can also understand that whether other family members are at risk or they might have a child with such a genetic disease. So this is actually science guiding prevention.
For some families, a single report can transform years of uncertainty into a clear plan for the future. Access to genetic testing is expanding through collaborations between hospitals, laboratories, and technology leaders. These partnerships are bringing advanced genomic tools closer to every family that needs an answer. Awareness, diagnosis, access. Together we can turn rare into recognized and hopelessness into healed.
Give me some sunshine, give me some rain, give me another chance. I wanna grow up once again. Give me some some sunshine, give me some rain, give me another chance. I wanna grow up once again.
The hidden code, what we call as genetics. Today, we will hear two more stories of two families. As a medical professional or being associated with such a cause, you know, many a times the diagnosis we give, we feel the reports, the visits, the follow-ups, we are stuck there. But for the family, this is their life. And it's a story of courage, sometimes a story of closure. Sometimes this is the story of hope. And today we meet two such families, both touched by rare kidney diseases and both showing us that genetics is probably not just a diagnosis but a direction. We have, the first one is Nafia. Nafia was a little girl and their family lost their elder brother due to kidney failure. They didn't know why. At that time, it was just grief. Nafia started showing the same symptoms and the family got worried. When this came to their doctors, the doctors probed in more. They did genetics and genetics showed them that there was a mutation in or a change in a particular gene called COL4A5, which is basically a gene related to Alport syndrome, which builds the kidney's filters. And she had a homozygous variation. Just imagine, we want to do good to our family, but here the parents get a diagnosis that they are passing on genes where their child is getting affected. A huge thing. But this genetic diagnosis not only helped the clinicians develop a care pathway, but also helped their little brother who did not even have symptoms to get detected and start their care early. I would request Nafia's family, her father and Nafia to come up on stage and narrate their stories.
আমার মেয়ে নাফিয়া পারভিন 2018 সাল যখন 6 বছর বয়স তখন অসুস্থ হয়ে পড়ে। আমরা ডক্টর রাজীব সিনহা স্যারের কাছে ওকে দেখানোর পরে রিপোর্ট করার পরে জানা যায় যে ওর কিডনি সমস্যা, এবং আমরা এরপরে আরও জানতে পারি যে জেনেটিক সমস্যা যেটা জন্মগতভাবে নিয়ে এসেছে। এরপরে আমাদের চিকিৎসা শুরু হওয়ার পরে আমরা জেনেটিক ডক্টর দীপাঞ্জনা দত্ত ম্যামের কাছে নিয়ে যাই। ওখানে আমাদের ফ্যামিলি সবার রিপোর্ট হওয়ার পরে জানতে পারি আমার ছোট ছেলে যার বয়স 5 বছর প্লাস, সেও একই সমস্যায় কিডনির সমস্যায় নিয়ে জন্মগ্রহণ করেছে। বর্তমানে চিকিৎসার মধ্যে আছে। আমার মেয়ে 2024 1 বছর হলো ডায়ালিসিস চালু হয়েছে। বর্তমানে সে ডায়ালিসিসের মধ্যে আছে, পড়াশোনার স্কুল বন্ধ। আমাকে প্রশ্ন করছে, বাবা আমার সাথে কেন এরকম হলো, যার উত্তর আমার কাছে নেই। কিন্তু ডক্টর আমাদেরকে আশ্বস্ত করেছেন আফটার ট্রান্সপ্লান্ট এরা স্বাভাবিক জীবনযাপন করতে পারবে, স্বাভাবিকভাবে জীবনে ফিরে আসতে পারবে। এই ভরসা নিয়ে আমরা এখন চিকিৎসা এবং ট্রান্সপ্লান্টের জন্য প্রস্তুতি নিচ্ছি। এরপরে জানি না আমাদের কি হবে, আশা করি ভগবান এদের সাথে ভালোই করবে।
থ্যাংক ইউ। আপনাদেরকে অসংখ্য ধন্যবাদ আমাদের আজকের এই প্রোগ্রামে আপনাদের স্টোরিটা শেয়ার করার জন্য। A diagnosis that actually came too late, but just in time so that we could plan for this family and that they wouldn't lose their other 2 children. We also have a second story. This is a story of a 13-year-old boy who came to ICH with severe convulsions and also had breathing difficulty. His blood pressure was dangerously high and his kidneys were failing, and he needed an emergency dialysis just to survive. But his struggle actually had started much earlier. He was born with skeletal deformities, eye problems. He just imagined a child having a surgery at 2 years of age for his hips. But when genetic testing was finally done, we found a gene called PAX2, which is a rare variant responsible for papillorenal syndrome. and it was a condition which was linking all these three organs. Now, the parents knew why this was happening. With this knowledge, the doctors could plan a multidisciplinary care for this child. His father became a kidney donor, and after surgery and fighting recovery and rejection, he started walking, learning, smiling like any other teenager, and today he's amongst us. Gaurav, we welcome Gaurav and his family on stage, and we would like them to share their part of the story.
ওর 2021 সালে হঠাৎ অসুস্থ হয় বা খিঁচুনি হয়, তারপরে তো আইসিএইচে নিয়ে এসে ভর্তি করানো হয়। তারপর জানা গেল যে পুরোপুরি কিডনি ড্যামেজ। তারপরে তো রাজীব স্যারের কথা মতো ডায়ালিসিস শুরু হওয়ার পরে দীর্ঘ 6 মাস পরই ট্রান্সপ্লান্টের সিদ্ধান্ত নেওয়া হয়। তারপর ট্রান্সপ্লান্ট করার পর এখন মোটামুটি আছে 3 বছর 4 মাস হতে চললো ট্রান্সপ্লান্ট, এই তো এখন আছে মোটামুটি। রাজীব সিনহার সুবাদেই এটা হয়েছে বা করতে পেরেছিলাম আমি।
থ্যাংক ইউ, থ্যাংক ইউ। আপনি আসতে পারেন। Sometimes the hidden code inside us carries both questions and also the care pathway, the way forward. You saw just two families. If you come to ICH, if you come to our department, we see many rare conditions, and it sometimes gives us the question that, is it really rare? Genetics does not explain the disease. It prevents it. Also, it helps us to plan better. So when we find a gene, from our perspective, we might be treating an illness or trying to manage an illness. But for families, we give them a chance, we give them a closure, we give them a hope. So next, we will be having a panel discussion where we have invited clinicians, policymakers, and even a parent, so that we can bring forward to you how these care pathways work. I request the panelists to give us 2 minutes to set the stage, and so that we can start the panel discussion. Chair, please. While the stage is being set, I will introduce our panelists. We have amongst us Dr. Rajiv Sinha, pediatric nephrologist, HOD Department of Nephrology, ICH. We have Dr. Pratik Dash, adult nephrologist, Narayana Hospital. We have Dr. Kaushik Mandal sir, clinical geneticist and HOD Department of Genetic, SGPGI. We have Dr. Rajiv Agarwal, fertility consultant and laparoscopic surgeon, Renew Healthcare. We have Dr. Shuchandra Mukhopadhyay ma'am, Nodal Officer, Center of Excellence, IP Jipmer, Kolkata. We have Sri Abhishek Chakraborty, parent advocate, mother of Adidev, a CKD patient and a transplant recipient. We have with us Sir Partho Roy. He's the National Director of Child Health Foundation. We have Sri Aniruddha Roy Chaudhary, who is a 3-time National Award winner for direction and production. And he is our celebrity advocate for kidney rare disease awareness today. We have with us Dr. Anuj Pandey, representative from Premas Life Sciences, who are the leading industry in genomic and industry. So to chair the session, I have with us Dr. Priyankar Pal, whom I would request to please take the stage. He is the HOD, Department of Pediatrics, ICH, and also Department of Rheumatology at ICH. So, I request all the panelists to please take the stage.
Hello. ঠিক আছে।
সবার আগে চারটে মাইকে মাঝে মাঝে ওইদিকে এদিকে করে
আরো চেয়ার লাগবে।
A very warm welcome to all our panelists.
আরেকটা চেয়ার লাগবে তো দেখি।
Rare kidney disease are often hidden behind years of misdiagnosis, fragmented referrals, and limited testing access. Today's panel brings together clinicians, geneticists, policymakers, patients, and industry to discuss how awareness genomics and national programs like the National Rare Disease like NRDP policy can bring hope to families. So here my first question to our HOD Pediatrics, Dr. Priyankar Pal, would be that, sir, we at ICH see patients from different strata, and more or less they come after visiting a lot of people. So can you please give us our experience? Can you please give us ICH's experience in diagnosing these patients and their journey to actually having a diagnosis?
Good afternoon, everybody. So we all know that ICH is a very old institute. So in fact, it was possibly the first exclusive pediatric hospital in India. And presently we have a lot of subspecialties. So pediatric subspecialties have been evolving over the last maybe 20-25 years. So presently we have a lot of subspecialties. We have a very dedicated NICU, PICU, pediatric nephrology. I run the pediatric rheumatology. We have a very exclusive pediatric hematology and cancer center also. So a lot of subspecialties. We have a lot of neurologists also in ICH. So the problem starts sometimes the referrals are late. We get a lot of referrals from all over, not only West Bengal, but also from the neighboring states. Sometimes the rare diseases, especially, even people do not accept the diagnosis sometimes. So, and then the referrals are late, but still presently I think we have been able to establish ourselves as a tertiary care center, and with the awareness programs that we are doing. So I think we are looking forward to a more fruitful future.
Yes. So I think ICH at this moment, we have been seeing under the guidance of Dr. Apurva Ghosh and all the stalwart pioneer doctors who have been working in their subspecialty to take this forward. And we right now also have the National Rare Disease Policy, where we actually can get some help from the central government also for many of these patients. My question to Dr. Sinha would be, Dr. Sinha, from your experience with pediatric nephropathies like cystinosis, SRNS, and nephropneusthrosis, how critical is early genetic diagnosis in shaping prognosis and renal survival? What help can we get from the frontline pediatrician recognizing red flags?
So, first of all, I always creep to Dr. Dipanjana that whenever we talk of rare disease, everyone focuses on neuro. But kidney is also unfortunately a rare disease, and many of them can, as an early intervention, can change the life. And slowly drugs are coming up which can be given and can prevent its progression to end-stage kidney disease. And these drugs are getting available in India also. So I'll give an example of a disease called atypical HUS, which can be very, very bad and can cause the kidney to go into end stage complete failure, and transplant hole bhalo hobe na. So even after transplant also it may not work. But then a drug has been launched, and the India government is supposed to be supporting that drug through the Rare Disease Initiative, as far as I know. And there are other also, like I will not bore you with the name of the disease, but there are number of other diseases where the drugs are there. And apart from that, obviously, any disease, if you know early, you can start your proper treatment, and the inevitable outcome can be delayed a lot. So my urgent request is strong urgent request is that there should be this awareness that kidney is also a part of a rare disease, and government, NGO, institute should all come up in support of this.
Thank you, sir. My next question would be Dr. Pratik Dash. Sir, right now, because we are seeing so many children transition into adult care, what systemic barriers do you see, especially regarding continuity of the follow-up, registry gaps, plus, sir, reproductive counseling? Many of these will also have children. Also, my one small question to you would be about inherited kidney diseases, which sometimes present in the adulthood also, but they don't get picked up. They just go into the management.
So, as an adult nephrologist, we usually get these patients of genetic disease in two ways. Either they come with a index patients of renal failure and tell us that two more childs in the same family has been either died in the early childhood or in the relationship, and they have never been evaluated and they are worried. So in those situations, we are a bit confused because we not very much acquainted with this genetic testing as with the pediatric nephrologist. So the collaboration in this situation is very important. We can ask them what kind of, particularly the prevalence of the disease, what kind of diseases are more prevalent in the society, and so that these genes can be picked up, whether you are testing those genes or not. So this transitional care is very important. We should have good collaborations with the pediatrics and the genetic department so that we pick up these diseases and can take the prevention, because many of the diseases, when you do the transplantation, they do recur, as in a typical HUS. We have seen many patients, a family come, brother died with some diseases, and now she studies awaiting for transplantation, or did the transplantation and ultimately it recurred. So this is also very important, because in counseling, we have to tell them this is probably a genetic disease. You need to go through additional testing, additional cost, maybe additional treatment for this to get an outcome. And secondly, this counseling of this subsequent counseling of the family counseling is also very important in those situations, because many of them are now entering into their biological life and they're marrying. So in this situation, family counseling, marriage counseling, so these are very important for us. Gradually we are learning, and awareness is very important, is coming to us, and it comes to the society also.
In US, we had something called a transition care, where at one point both the pediatric and the adult would see this patient together, so that the families don't feel that, the pediatrics nephrologist with whom they were so close are abandoning their child. So I feel we also should come up with transition clinics.
We transplanted recently one patient, is a long-term follow-up patient of Rajiv, and he reached adulthood and referred to us. We always discussing, and now we did the transplant 1 month before.
Yes, so that's wonderful, but we need more. So it highlights the continuum of care from pediatrics to adulthood and the urgent need for an unified genetic registry and transition pathways. My question right now goes to Dr. Kaushik Mondal, sir. Sir, apna pashe mic ache. So, genomic sequencing has revolutionized the diagnostic yield for rare kidney diseases. How does the genomic data or registry help people with kidney diseases? And do we know that genetic diseases are not treatable? So, there is an idea that if it's a genetic disease, then nothing can be done. So, just if you could highlight on these.
So, maybe I will have a tale of what we have discussed now. Like Rajiv has told that eculizumab is available. So we have actually started procuring eculizumab, but as because they are very, very costly, so we are trying to see that we are giving this to the patients who are undergoing atypical HUS, who are undergoing transplant to prevent rejection. We cannot give it as a prophylaxis to all people with, because it is exuberantly costly. So one transplant rejection, saving of one transplantation costs something like 23 lakhs. But similarly, there are situations, because they are being produced by companies outside the country, they have spent a lot in research. So there are similar conditions where India has started producing, like for drug for SMA. So it is not even 1/10 the cost of the drug which is sold from the outside company. And we are seeing very absolute hope that someday we will be self-sufficient in our country. Then about genomic data, we have to have data, we have to collate things. So like we have all children with SMA, we are going back and asking them that if you come back, we can provide you this drug, because we have the data, and we require registry throughout the country to help the government to find out which is a disease which is treatable, a disease which needs urgent intervention, a disease which is more common, because we have numbers, India has numbers. So there are various genetic disorders that are very common. So did I answer all the questions?
Yes, sir. So just one small thing, because you picked up about, drugs being made in India. So I think when it started, when actually the entire drug thing started, we never knew that we could come to this day, and it gives us great pleasure, I feel, to say that, right now we are saying that SMA, let's, go to the neurologist and get the drug.
So it is proactiveness. We have to be proactive, right? There are certain conditions where it is a very simple drug, like
copper histidine.
So it can be prepared, but proactiveness from the pharmacologist, from the treating clinician, from the regulatory authorities to provide it in-house is important. Like eculizumab, we are getting because the nephrologists were proactive to get it, right? Then SMA drug came because the whole
neurologists and the parents.
Community parents, they were proactive, right?
So if I can just say just one, so because we have got nephrologist here and some very big short nephrologist also, nephrology has to be proactive, both pediatric and the adult nephrology, because I don't think we have been as proactive as neuromusculars.
No, plus we still don't have a patient advocacy body which is just concentrating on kidney diseases. That is something which is missing, and unless that's there, unless the parents drive this, it's very difficult for doctors to follow up, because parents are the end users, and if they don't drive it, ultimately it will not see what SMA has seen, and even hemophilia has seen, for that matter. Like somewhere the parents have to drive it.
And about the transition, so in our institute, what we do, we don't abandon our children. So we follow them up till the adulthood, especially thalassemia, hemophilia. The adults come to us, we learn that, right? And we take help from our other departments for the, like a child with thalassemia having tubercular meningitis. So we'll have consultation with the neurologist how to treat them, but they do come to us.
Thank you, sir. My next question would be to Dr. Rajiv Agarwal. Dr. Rajiv Agarwal, as a fertility and IVF specialist, couples affected by hereditary renal diseases often ask about recurrence risk. Also, there can be patients who are affected themselves. How would you integrate preconceptional counseling and testing and help them, have a healthy baby?
Thank you, Dipanjana. I think you and I are blessed to be in a very unique position, because in this entire spectrum of rare diseases, probably we play a small role in probably preventing things from happening in future children. So we have various kinds of couples coming to us. One who probably have the disease in their family and are curious about it. They're worried about it, that what is going to happen to their future children. Second, couples whom maybe one of them is already affected, like a polycystic kidney disease, and they're obviously worried as to what is going to happen and how they can prevent it from happening. And of course, with certain other rare diseases, again, something, when the child is already affected and they want to now be sure that the second child, which they want to bring into this world, should not get affected. So how we normally work is we refer them to people like you who does the detailed evaluation. The genetics of the particular disease are found out. And then we refer them to our IVF department, wherein we kind of counsel them, where we take out the eggs from the mother, we take the sperms from the husband, we make the embryo, having created a probe already for that particular disease, which we want to prevent in the future. When we do an embryo biopsy, that genetic material is now tested against that particular disease. And we now identify embryos which are probably normal. And that embryo then being transferred into the mother's womb sort of stops the diseases in their tracks. And at least for the future itself, we manage to safeguard a child. I think that's what we do for couples who come to us, and we would want to extend it as much as possible to society at large.
Thank you so much, sir. So we were talking about PGTM. We also have prenatal testing. There is also other forms which sir also gets involved, like using donors in some cases. But all of this is a repertoire. So it depends on what the patient really wants. So with that, my next question would be to Dr. Shuchandra Mukhopadhyay, ma'am. Ma'am, as a nodal officer, like at IPGMR Center of Excellence, how are the rare disease pathways being operated for the group 1 disorders, and what collaborations, ma'am, do you think might be needed to enable this group 1 disorder people to also actually get treatment support?
Thank you, Dr. Nilanjana. Now, actually, I'm a pediatrician now representing IPGMR Kolkata. It was nominated as one of the COE, Center of Excellence for Rare Disease, in 2021. And when I was studying pediatrics, I didn't know about much of these rare diseases, and genetic test was not available then. Most of the disease remained undiagnosed, especially the kidney diseases. So we used to know disease cause is uncertain or unknown cause. But now most of the cases are diagnosed because the genetic test is now affordable in most of the centers, and it is accessible also. Now role of the COEs is vast. Not only for diagnosis, definitely diagnosis is number one, treatment is another facet, and third, and it is not the less important, but it is the genetic counseling and prenatal diagnosis. I can tell you, day before yesterday, I saw a couple from Bihar. The first child had some kidney disease, and it was diagnosed at the age of 1 year. It is a polycystic kidney disease. The fetus was diagnosed, the second one, at the gestational age of 28 weeks. Then they saw some echogenicity of this fetal kidney, and then the cyst was present in liver as well. It's not only kidney. So it is autosomal recessive kidney disease. The fetus was born yesterday in our hospital. Now we have to treat, diagnose, confirmation of diagnosis, and our job is the genetic counseling, because subsequent 2 pregnancies were affected with polycystic kidney disease. So this is the role of COE. And I can tell you, after this implementation of this rare disease policy, the outlook has changed. It's not only the healthcare provider, the doctor, nurses, especially the doctors, our students, all these support groups and the parents. Now there is some answer that the genetic test is available. In some cases, maybe some 20-30% cases, we will have a definite answer. And another very promising with this NPRD, that is Make in India drugs, indigenous drugs. Because now we are having drugs for SMA, very small molecules like urea cycle disorder, this phenylbutyrate is now available in India. Previously it was not. Now maybe next couple of years we will have some drugs for the rare kidney or neurological disorders. So now eculizumab. So every other day this nephrologist of IPGMR, he is just pressing me, madam, how long we have to wait to get this eculizumab for my patients. So COE role is not only COE, but for all these pediatrician and these general medicine practitioner, it is the anticipation of cases where there is a strong family history that that baby may suffer from any genetic causes. So you have to send early to the pediatrician. So early diagnosis is very important. Definitely has to go to the right place, because we have seen, say, 2 to 3 years back, SMA being diagnosed at the age of 2 or 3 years. The baby had flaccid paralysis, going to AIMS Delhi or CMC Vellore to get a diagnosis for SMA. But now the things are changing. Now the pediatrician are sending cases with a diagnosis of SMA. And the genetic test is available. Most of the basic genetic tests are available at Kolkata, IPGMER Kolkata. Definitely the sequencing is not yet available, but we are trying to upgrading our services for targeted sequencing. At least if there is a family history and one child affected, then we can do the targeted sequencing for the fetus and for the next one child as well. And regarding CSR, I can assure you that we can manage with CSR funds for a very exorbitant this therapy. But we are trying, though as of now, we are trying from our institute to support for diagnosis, therapy, whichever is available under NPRD, and definitely the prenatal diagnosis and counseling.
And I think the COE is also doing an excellent job, ma'am, like with all the awareness programs that you have been doing with the Shastro Bhavan and the district hospitals. So, need to actually highlight over here that number one, there are certain tests which are absolutely free of cost, which is at the COE. You can actually go to the OPD and get those tests done. Second, that there is a lot of help and support in terms of continued management that also happens in the COE. Yes, sir.
Like times are changing. I still remember when I was working with Suchandad in IPGMR. At that time, I used to do fetal autopsies. So I did fetal autopsy for ARPKD to prove that it is ARPKD. I did probably a neonatal or a autopsy of a 2-3 months or 4 months baby to prove that it is congenital nephrotic. Now nobody sends me couples or children with these disorders. So they are diagnosing it. The nephrologist and pediatricians are diagnosing it.
Yes. So I move on. Yes. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. Please.
We're still having Dr. Kaushik Mandal register with me with the fetal autopsy report.
No, he's registered with everyone, I guess. He's our person. So, yeah. So, I'll move on to Sri Abhishek Chakraborty. He's a parent over here. His son had a diagnosis of a condition called 17q, like HNF1 beta. So, it is also a cystic kidney disease. And his son has received a transplant. So my question to you, Sri Abhishek Chakraborty, would be, what would be your message to clinicians, policymakers, and also about the emotional journey which your family had? We saw your wife speak in the video. So if you could please say a few words.
Okay. So thank you all for this platform to share the emotional journey and all sorts of things. But first of all, let me deeply thank Mr. Rajiv Sinha, Dr. Rajiv Sinha, who is being treating my son from 22 days. When was my son's age was 22 days. So yes, we were being diagnosed, my son was being diagnosed with all these sorts of things. Sir told me, ki Abhishek, it's all about management. And me, my wife, we said, okay, we are okay with everything. You just guide us what to do, what not to do. We have followed all the steps. But yes, the most emotional journey is ki once my son had been, we were known from day one ki my son had to go for kidney transplant, but the emotional journey was not between me and my wife. It was also, Dr. Rajiv Sinha was also attached with us. So we three were into the journey. In fact, my entire family was into the journey, and Rajiv sir was also into that. First of all, this is the wonderful thing that we have faced, right? Second, again, emotional journey, it's not about ki kidney transplant hobby or something like that, ki what will be the future or something. No, we were very much futuristic because we got that support back end from the medical science. Now coming to the logistics and all sorts of things, I must, and in fact, yes, you are correct, ma'am, ki the parents should, or the patient party or the patient family should come up together to urge to the government ki do something special for kidney therapy or kidney medical science or something, we should be very much, I am telling this word because we should be typically for that disease, right? Because kidney plays an important part
role
in our body.
Yes.
So yes, we are having our medical sciences growing up, but that made in India medicines, the infrastructure government should focus on, and the paperwork that is being required. I am telling, please, because I have gone through that phase, the paperwork that has been required, it should be in the tip. Once the doctor is telling, ye karna hai, to matlab karna hai. I have to rush, I have to go there, taking my wife. My wife is a donor. Now she is also working, we are also working. So this was the thing. So I am urging to all of us, to the central government, to the state government, please do something on a important role or on a specific type. For kidney, the rates, in the traffic signal, right, the rate is being there. So whenever the kidney case is coming or the nephrology cases are coming on, it should be on top priority.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. So actually what we understand from what Sri Abhishek Chakraborty said was that unless we have an awareness that it can also start prenatally, it's not something that you can see as, you know, an infant or a child. It can start prenatally. The awareness should be there even neonatally. And at each step, if we have that awareness and we can diagnose it early, then our next steps also should follow up. The infrastructure should be there where the doctor, and it's never one person, it's always a team that works. The team comes together and the team stays together so that we can actually provide the better care and better management. My next question would be to Sri Partho Roy. Sri Partho Roy is a part of, is basically the director of Child Help Foundation, and I would ask him, how does an NGO figure in all this? Like, how can an NGO strengthen rare kidney disease awareness, especially should we go to schools, local media, CSRs, like how can we go to the mass?
Hello, good afternoon, and I'm really feeling privileged and honored that I am among all the specialist doctors in national and international body, this faculty. And thing is that myself, I am a resource person, and that is the most difficult part. And Child Health Foundation, we are working for last 15 years, and we are having lots of other programs. Among the other programs, this medical emergency support program is one of the major program, and our commitment to the society of India that no child should die without a treatment. And after that, within these 15 years, we have already completed successful operation 3,500. And we spent more than 17 crore rupees. So this is for all diseases. And for kidney, you know, we are having a school advocacy program all over the country from the young age, because we learn only that prevention is better than cure. So we are having a volunteers. We are, according to our capacity, according to our limitation, we are treating the children, we are saying the children how they will lead their life to prevent all the diseases. And for kidney, when we are getting the appeal, it is not at all possible if we have the money, if the donors is ready, but donors means not the patient's donor, because money is ready, still we cannot do it, because sometimes donor is missing. So we cannot able to do that thing. And you know that all over Child Health Foundation, we are working, and our thing is that we are advocate, we are treating the children, we are educating the children, we are educating the things, but we need to, we are NGO, development sector. But the major work has to be done by the central government and the state government. And we have requested state government once. Here, one person is here, Madam Suchanda Madam is here. We need to do a MOU. If we do a MOU, because sometimes, you know, donors are also asking us, who are you? If we say that we are having a MOU with the government of West Bengal, that we are going to treat 10 or 15 or 50 patients in a year, then we get the recognition. So this is missing here. So I am appealing to ma'am, through ma'am, if we do that thing, it will be major thing for us. Being a resource person, it is really tough to bring the money for the operation.
So before Madam comments on this, it's my insight. Like, I have been working in this field for a while. What I feel is that, it is not about NGOs and COEs or central government and state government. It is definitely about working together. But as a government, there are few barriers. There are policy barriers. So if there has to be a change, there has to be a registry. If there is no registry, there is no change. The NGOs can only get prominence when there is a strong government policy, and otherwise the state health or the COE or nobody can do nothing, because whatever is happening through a policy. Beyond that policy, if something has to be done, then you need an advocacy first. If that advocacy is there, that advocacy will happen if you have a registry. So the registry, the advocacy will help the COEs to come forward. Madam, in her capacity, we know, even I write a lot of mails to her, Madam, this is happening, that is happening. But I have the understanding that that can only happen if there are advocacy happening to the central government. Otherwise, there is no policy. Because state as a health, again, advocacy happening at the state health. Because if there is no policy, we are doctors, we are in the zone where we are treating or managing or explaining. We cannot take a decision which the state or the center has not taken. So it's not in Madam's actually hand to tie a MOU unless there is some kind of an indication in the policy.
Okay,
Madam,
I understand. Thank you. And just lastly, I just want to tell that, that through ICH, we have done two patients. One is Seosi Acharya and another is successful Sagar Jana. So thank you, ICH, for giving us this platform. And that I'm really happy. And we need to be going on. And if we are there, if there is a requirement, 100% will be stand beside ICH. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Ma'am, do you want to comment anything?
Regarding the transplant services, we are just exploring. If it is available in Kolkata, then definitely the MU can be done with this center. And we have approached to our health department, Government of West Bengal. They have already there is a positive thing from the health department to proceed for this MOU with the government setup for HSCT transplant. And definitely, yes, for pediatric kidney and liver transplant, we are also exploring which center, either in Kolkata or outside, for doing this collaboration for sending patients, since it is not available as yet at IPJMER.
Thank you, ma'am. And again, this was actually a policy statement that came out with the National Rare Disease Policy, where they said that for group 1 disorders where you can have transplant, if it is not present in the COU, you can actually have an MOU with a place which is having, so that we can work together.
But that needs lot of
paperwork.
Policy making decisions, right?
Yes.
When you have it in your center, like we have HSCT and we are actually doing for various rare diseases, we have started doing because that is the priority. Transplants are priority. It's one-time care.
Yes. So my next question would be to Sri Aniruddha Roy Chaudhary. He comes from Media House and he is the 3 times National Award winner. And probably his position over here is something very different from what we have been discussing. So, sir, my question to you would be, as a public advocate, what is your take on rare kidney diseases, and how can this become a mainstream cause where awareness translates into sustained action?
Firstly, thank you so much for inviting me, and I am absolutely not qualified to talk in this platform with so many doctors and dignitaries. আমি একদম কিছু এই ব্যাপারে জানি না. One thing, I'll try to answer your questions a little bit metaphorically. Number 1 is information. Number 2 is knowledge. Number 3 is awareness. Since childhood, amara ki shiki. I'll tell you something. I'll tell you my story. When I was very young, maybe I was in class 2 or 3, I misbehaved with a young girl who was part of our family and who used to help my mom. And my father whacked me and told me, if you do this, you'll be out of this house. And after 40 years, I made a film called Pink, where I understood how to respect women.
Yes.
So everything should be embedded in our, everything should be transferred from childhood. Je tumi jol noshto korbe na, don't waste. I had to do a little bit of farming because my parents came from Bangladesh. He told you should go to the field and do a little bit of farming. Maybe for that, after 50 years of abusing in advertising, 60 years of abusing in advertising in films, I still sustain, I heard a word called, eto jani na bole ami likhe rakhlam, genetic diagnosis. I'm not aware. I'm a little bit aware because I make films, I have to do research and all. I don't know what is genetic diagnosis. I don't know what people from village and everywhere, whether they know. We go to an astrologer, bacha hobar age, kirom hobe. What will happen? Whether my son will become Sachin Tendulkar or daughter will become Aishwarya Rai, or does he have the capability of becoming a Ravi Shankar? I was told your dadu used to play violin. Why don't you learn a little bit of music? So that's genetic. That's the sense of
genetic in you,
which I had. But what is genetic diagnosis? We should know. I got a little bit of information today. We should be aware, right? From, we should know what to do with our next generation. Like amra jekhon ekhon boli, don't waste your water. What will happen to your grandchild? Don't create so much of pollution. Don't abuse the nature. So we can't abuse us also. And I think it's a big responsibility for all the media people. I was expecting more media here because when we make a film, there are so many people. And sometimes those films are insignificant also. Why? And this, we need media for this because this will save us. This will save our children.
That's absolutely why we have you here. Because we know whenever we speak, no one comes. But when you speak, there are many people who come.
That's very unfortunate. Like media should also learn that what is important in life. This is so important. This will give us knowledge, and our kids, their kids, everybody will sustain, everybody will live a good life. And the medical, technology and the informations and the science has grown so much. Sky is the limit. We know about cancer a little bit. We know about AIDS because those were we don't know.
So we know about breast cancer because of Angelina Jolie. Right now, breast cancer in India is gaining prominence because of Milind Soman.
Exactly.
Everywhere, it was a media person who brought the cause forward. So our request, like as a fraternity over here, would be if media can take this up forward, because as you can see, if we speak, no one comes. When you speak, everyone comes. So that's
I'll tell you, we only make films, but doctors, as we were told by our parents, they were semi-gods. They know, they help us to live. So 100% I'm sure I can be one of your
thank you
Kibolbo soldier. I can go to different people. We can create interesting videos or small awareness advertisements,
yes,
and make it very simple, very basic, but which can penetrate.
Yes.
It's all about awareness, and due to social media, life has become little easy. It's very tough. It's addictive, it's wrong. At the same time, if we can use that projukti well, if we can use that technology well, we can really penetrate and we can really inform people and educate people. So let's try, all of us will find a way.
Thank you so much, sir. So here, sir said two very important things which I will just I'll just say out. That number one, he said that we go to astrologers. There are a number of inherited rare genetic diseases, which Dr. Rajiv Agarwal said that, we can actually pick them up. Though genetics is not only inherited, it can also happen without a family history. But still, there can be awareness which can help to pick these up. And also this awareness has to penetrate the society. Us talking, parents talking, doctors talking to doctors does not help. It has the media people, every one of you, as sir said, sir is a soldier. Every one of the media, few people who have come over here, you are soldiers too. It's your job also to bring this forward so that, our voices reach to the people who are supposed to be reached to. So my next question would go to our industry partner, Dr. Anuj Pandey. Dr. Anuj, so just an introduction. So Dr. Anuj comes from the company which actually makes these machines for genomic sequencing. So Dr. Anuj, how can genomic industry partnership collaborate with clinicians, COEs to enhance sequencing and sort of making local hubs, shared platforms, and also reduce the price?
Thank you, Dr. Deepanjana, for inviting Primas Life Sciences for this unique awareness program. And thank you to the panelists as well. They've already answered most of the question. But when you talk about the technology point of view and most importantly, the genomics, how it is moving, the cost of genome sequencing is going to come down. Maybe after 5-6 years, it will be a cost of simple biochemistry test, and it can be easily integratable into any other clinical system. But the most important point is what about the data that is going to be generated, and that data should be backed by the government-driven policies, right? So how we are going to submit the data, do we have the secure access to the data, and then stratifying that data into different kind of diseases, for example, rare diseases and all, and followed by utilization of that data for the pharmacological insight so that we can plan, or something called prevention is better than cure, and lot of COEs program, lot of placing the sequencers across the country, collaborating with lot of institution in India, and what we have achieved with something called Genome India project, the 10,000 genomes, and sooner or later we need to plan more of bigger sequencing project, include all the populations, include all the disease groups, so that we'll have better clinical insights on that data.
Thank you. Wonderful. So, sir, you want to comment on that?
No, this will also get linked to your Aadhaar card.
Yes. So, as what we wanted to do over here is give you an insight as to what really happens. You can see about 11 people on the dais, and 11 people are not enough. We need more people actually to actually manage a child. So this convergence of clinical expertise, reproductive risk management, patient advocacy, government policy, genomic access actually is the collaboration that we need to achieve. And I would end this session over there and open it for the press to ask questions. You can individually ask questions to each of the panelists once they get down the stage. If you have any questions at the moment, you can please come forward and ask questions. Just to summarize the key takeaways, that early genetic diagnosis and multidisciplinary coordination saves kidneys and lives. We have the National Rare Disease Policy and the COEs, who are the foundation for equitable access to rare renal care and rare disease care. Family centers, counseling and fertility planning can help to reduce the recurrence risks. We not only need public-private partnership, but we need media people to come forward. It's a social issue. Don't think this is just a medical issue. It's a social issue. We need to have healthier children. Amongst us, we also have international faculties who are sitting right at my this corner of the table. We have Dr. Ahmed Khardua, who was trained in Cincinnati and currently practicing in Qatar. We have Dr. Hugh McCarthy, who is trained in UK and currently practicing in Amsterdam. So if you have any questions to what happens outside also, they can give you an insight, and any questions are there, we can answer it for you. So any questions from the press? If there are no questions, I would ask the panelists to step down, and we have a small bit of token memento being given, so that please do collect your memento. It's our way to say that we are grateful for your time and your presence over here. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
আপনি আসুন।